CKMB, creatine kinase MB isoenzyme, myocardial band. Okay, now you need to remember this name. Remember CKMB. That one is unique to heart muscle. That one is unique to heart muscle. The enzyme. Next time, if somebody, see, I'm giving you some stuff that'll make you smarter. Because next time you're around somebody in your family, and say somebody has a heart attack, you will be smart enough to maybe ask a question. Well, doctor, what about those enzyme levels? And doctor, you asked what you what about those enzyme levels? Are those enzyme levels, are they kind of down? Is it okay for them to go on? The enzymes are stabilized? They're down a little bit? Alright, so CKMB, that's creatine kinase, it's creatine kinase, myocardial band is what the MB stands for. CKMB is unique to heart muscle. Alright, now right here, here's one SGOT. Also elevates in the case of hepatitis B, but it's also in the heart attack. That's serum glutamic oxaloacetic transaminase. There's LDH1, that's lactic dehydrogenase 1, also elevates in the case of hepatitis B. So they also elevate like that. Okay? So those are some enzymes. And then here's creatine phosphokinase elevates. See, that's in muscular dystrophy. One you need to kind of hang on to, those first two. Just kind of hang on to those first two. It's basically CKMB. And I might say something about that. And know that these enzymes elevate when there's heart muscle damage. These enzymes elevate. And with Tom C. Metter Jr., possibly, Tom Metter, possibly, maybe he should have been in the hospital. I think he just had those elevated. It indicated his heart was still ready to explode again. I think he had another heart attack in the waiting room, just fell dead. Just big wheel fell out. I can just picture him. So he started to get up out of the chair. He kind of stood up. He just went like that, face down right there and died. All right, but anyway, there is that right there. Oh, that's all of that. Okay, now let me show y'all. Here's what we need to do. All right, now this gets into some pretty good stuff. This next deal. Let me get to the little X up there. Get up there to X out right quick. All right, now let me show you this right here. Okay, y'all see part 2? Yeah. Okay, now right here. I want to get into this a little bit now. Right here, like, oh, you know what this is? Let me tell you what this is. Let me tell you what this is. This came along about the time of the 4th of July one summer. And I use this in my, usually when I get to this, I want that picture right there. I'd love to have that picture. That is a cool picture right there. And that is a cool picture right there. And we talk about this. See, Benjamin Franklin wanted the buzzard to be the national bird, the national bird. Benjamin Franklin wanted the buzzard. He was overruled, so we have the eagle. The eagle is a symbol of strength, and don't mess with me. That's what. All right, now how many of you know what this is? How many of you know what that is? Iwo Jima. That is the most photographed, the most redone photograph in the history of photography. A young Marine by the name of Joe Rosenthal was on Iwo Jima, obviously, and he took that picture, the flag raising at Iwo Jima, and there's a guy I know from Normandy. His name is those guys' names go by Sousley. I'll think of their names. I mean, I did know them all. They were all between the ages of 19 and 25 at that time. That was I think the oldest one was 25 at that time. Rosenthal, Sousley was one. Rosenthal was one. Ira Hayes was one. Ira Hayes never got over that. He ended up an extreme alcoholic, died by the time he was 30. Then there was Hayes, Sousley, Rosenthal, and they'll come to me, there's no make any difference, but I did know them all those guys at one time. They're all dead now. Obviously, the last one just died not too many years ago, though. He wrote an extremely good book. But anyway, now there we go. All right, now back to where we are. All right, now right here, everybody, right here, part 2, and that's just it. Now here's what we do, the conducting system of the heart. Now this is a real important thing right here, the conducting system. The conducting system. This is where we get into problems like defib, AFib, things like that, the conducting system. This is where we get into the term like pacemaker. Now here's what we're going to talk about. SA, AV, AV bundle, right and left BB bundle branches, and Purkinje, Purkinje, Purkinje fibers. Purkinje fibers. That's what we're getting into as far as the conducting system of the heart. This is the way it goes, the conducting system. All right, now watch. All right, introduction. Heart is inherently rhythmic. It beats by itself. Just think about this. We had a guy who taught for us. His name was Billy Joe. Ironically, his name was Hart, H-A-R-T. Billy Joe Hart's dad died when he was in his early 50s of heart failure. Billy Joe Hart had an inherent heart problem. And by the time he was 40, Shasta, he had a PhD, taught zoology primarily here. By the time he was 40, his heart was in a major situation of failing. And by the age of 40, what happened with him is that he ended up, his heart was failing. He was getting ready to die. He was lying there in St. Luke's or Methodist Hospital in Houston, waiting to die or to get a heart transplant. There was a young boy, did I tell you all this story? There was a young guy riding a motorcycle in Victoria. He was 18 years old. He was speeding along on his motorcycle. He lost control of his motorcycle and flew headfirst into a telephone pole. Boom! Without a helmet. Even if he had a helmet. He flew headfirst into a telephone pole. He was DOS. He was dead right there. Dead on the spot. They ripped the heart out of this 18-year-old guy. Took the heart out of him, packed it in ice, flew it to Houston, flighted it to Houston, packed it in ice, and put it in Billy Joe Hart's chest. Bill Hart lived, he had a strong immune system. Now, tissue rejection is when the cytotoxic T cells, kind of like a little Yorkshire Terrier nipping at your heels, that little goes, yip, 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 that those T cells kept nipping at his heart. He lived for 10 years with a transplanted heart. He needed another one, and he died. He had a heart attack and died. All right, so right here, the heart, now, the reason I mention that, when that heart was put in Billy Joe Hart, the heart for the kid was put in him, then did they hook the nerves up? No. His heart would, what speed up, if he would walk, what would speed up his heart? Epinephrine, the effects of epinephrine. He didn't have, the cardio accelerator, cardio inhibitory nerves of his own weren't hooked to that transplanted heart. When he would walk and his heart rate would get up, what caused that? Epinephrine. Epinephrine. The target of epinephrine is the SA node. The SA node in that transplanted heart. And his heart rate would go up, and so forth. And he tried, one time in his life he was a smoker. He quit all that though. He quit it after the heart transplant. But he had a big strike against him, and his dad had died. He had an inherited situation that was really like 2.5 strikes against him. And it played out. But anyway, Erastus Radius, I mentioned him in 2401 as being the first. Remember him in 2401, y'all that had me? This dude right here supposedly was the first one to dissect human bodies. Supposedly. Alright, but he also did. Now, Newell Martin at Johns Hopkins University in 1890, still a long time ago, demonstrated that the heart of a mammal will continue to beat when cut off from the nerve supply. And that's what Bill Hart's heart was doing. And when they transplanted. Alright, now, then the term for specialized cardiac is autorhythmic. Now, I just put that in there. Autorhythmic fibers and so forth. And they are self-excitable. That's what this nodal tissue is. It's autorhythmic, self-excitable. Now, your heart is depolarizing now, depending on what your heart rate is. None of us have a resting heart rate that Lance Armstrong had. When Lance Armstrong was in his best shape, Lance Armstrong had a resting heart rate of about 35.
Wow.
That's unreal. I'll bring you the article on that. Lance Armstrong, can you imagine that? Heart rate, a resting heart rate. Now, mine is probably beating about 90 right now. Probably on up, because I've been jumping around. You're sitting there, so your heart rate possibly is a little lower. Your heart rate is probably, if you find the radial artery and count to 15, watching a watch, and multiply by 4, you can get your heart rate. All right, you can tell what it is. But it's self-excitable. Now, right here, everybody, right here. Conducting system, okay. All right, the heart is innervated by the autonomic nervous system. Yeah, we know that. There's cardio accelerator, cardio inhibitory. We do know that. All right, these nerves on the increase or decrease timetable. Now, what is a cardiac cycle? Does anybody have a clue what a cardiac cycle is?